This is CBC Vancouver News.
Bags packed and long lines forming.
We are expecting upwards of 900,000 passengers over the 2-week stretch.
As spring break gets underway, travelers hope for smooth sailing. Plus, avian flu spreads to another species in Richmond. What you need to know to stay safe, and celebrating the best and brightest in Canadian music.
I want a brand new house on an episode of Cribs.
The big winners at the 2023 Junos. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Dan is on assignment this week. Spring break is here, bringing a flood of travelers in the coming days. YVR and BC Ferries are gearing up to welcome them. And as Joel Ballard reports, doing everything they can to avoid the travel chaos of the last 3 years.
The bags are packed. British Columbians trading their rain boots for some vitamin D.
I'm going to Palm Springs for 4 days.
Nice.
Probably relax and decompress.
Over spring break, around 900,000 passengers are expected to travel through YVR.
It puts us at about 62,000 passengers per day, which is quite busy for us here at the airport.
And it's not just outbound traffic, but people choosing BC as their spring break destination of choice.
We just came here from the US to Canada to ski at Whistler.
The last time YVR saw increased traffic was during the Christmas season, when winter storms grounded flights, leading to mass cancellations and seemingly never-ending airport sleepovers. But Smith is confident YVR can handle the demand this time.
So recognizing that this is the first spring break in 3 years, that we don't have any travel restrictions, and that many people may be traveling for the first time or the first time in a long time, our advice is to be prepared.
Travelers can do that by checking their flight updates online, having all their documents ready and organized, and arriving early. That advice echoed by BC Ferries.
We do know that lots of families will be taking vacation over the next couple of weeks with spring break, and we do expect to see more travelers with BC Ferries.
She says extra sailings have been added between Tsawwassen and Swartz Bay to keep up with demand. Meanwhile, at the borders, the Canadian Border Services Agency says your best bet to beat the lines is to cross during non-peak hours like the early mornings. Back at YVR, a sense of relief for the return of travel.
We're all enjoying getting out and being able to do things again, for sure.
And of course, the best part of spring break.
And how does it feel to be off school for 2 weeks?
It feels really well. Really good.
Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
7 Vancouver police officers could be facing disciplinary measures in the death of a Sechelt man. The police chief in charge of the investigation found they may have used unnecessary force and abused their authority when dealing with Miles Gray in 2015. Gray was 33 years old when he died. He was making a delivery for his florist business when he got into a verbal confrontation with a homeowner in South Vancouver. Police were called and 9 officers responded. Gray was restrained, kicked, punched, and pepper sprayed before he died. Metro Vancouver Transit Police Chief David Jones found that 7 officers may have abused their authority and could lose their jobs if the allegations are proven true. 6 of the officers may have neglected their duty by failing to take written notes about the incident. A disciplinary hearing is set to begin next month. To Prince George now, where the first court date for 5 officers charged in the death of an Indigenous man in custody has been moved until May. The family of Dale Culver only finding out about the delay on the weekend.
That it is upsetting that the court date has been moved to May 2nd now, after we've been told for so long that it would be tomorrow.
35-year-old Culver died in July 2017 in Prince George. According to the Independent Investigations Office, there was a struggle during his arrest with police, and police used pepper spray on him. Culver started having trouble breathing and died shortly after. He was a member of the Wet'suwet'en and Gitxsan First Nation, his death prompting calls for change when it comes to policing.
The institutional racism that many Indigenous people experience is shown in Dale Culver's case, that if you're arrested, that there is a risk of death nowhere in this world should that occur.
2 RCMP officers in Prince George have been charged with manslaughter in connection with Culver's death. Another 3 have been charged with attempting to obstruct justice. Well, cleanup is underway on the North Shore after raw sewage was found leaking into the Capilano River.
I mean, sewage into the river, the salmon, the environment, those are all serious concerns.
I come down here on a regular basis with my dog, and in the summertime, she goes for a swim, I go for a swim. The water is pristine and clean, and we love it, so it's very scary.
The leak was first publicly reported Friday by the Squamish First Nation, who believes the leak is coming from a nearby apartment complex. BC's public safety minister is not confirming that speculation today, saying government has been in contact with the Squamish Nation and that it's conducting a full analysis of the situation.
Understanding where the spill came from, how it happened, so to determine, one, to make sure that that cleanup is done as quickly and as efficiently as possible, that there's as little damage as possible to fish stocks in the Capilano River, and also to see if there's additional steps that may be required to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
In the meantime, crews have deployed sandbags and pumps. The spill is said to be contained. Well, 8 skunks found dead last month have tested positive for avian flu. The animals were found in residential areas in Vancouver and Richmond. They were infected by the same strain that caused the outbreak last April. The Ministry of Agriculture says the skunks may have contracted the virus from scavenging on infected wild birds. Avian flu in skunks is considered to be a low risk to humans, but people should be careful when coming into contact with sick or dead wild animals. Anyone who comes across a dead skunk in Richmond or Vancouver should leave it alone and contact the BC Wildlife Health Program. In Nanaimo, a local business owner was shot during a fight yesterday afternoon.
It went a little further than it should have. We were not expecting them to have guns.
The incident happened when a group of roughly 6 people went to retrieve stolen property from an encampment. A 49-year-old man was shot in the stomach in the process. Friends of the man say he is in an induced coma and is awaiting a second surgery, but is in stable condition. 2 people with outstanding warrants were taken into custody as a person of interest, but no charges have been laid. Well, it's a strong showing for Canadians at the Oscars last night, but Malaysian-born actor Michelle Ghoussoub stole the show, accepting the coveted Best Actress award. Eli Glasner has more from Los Angeles.
It was an Oscars that went off without a slap, but a sci-fi film about saving the multiverse dominated the awards with Everything Everywhere All at Once, taking home 7 Oscars, including the big one, Best Picture, Best Director, and much, much more. Ke Huy Quan started the Everything Everywhere steamroller early, taking home the award for Best Supporting Actor.
My journey started on a boat. I spent a year in a refugee camp, and somehow I ended up here on Hollywood's biggest stage. They say stories like this only happen in the movies. I cannot believe it's happening to me. This is the American dream.
Quan was followed by his co-star Michelle Yeoh, all too aware that she was making history as the first Asian actor to win Best Actress for her performance as Evelyn.
For all the little boys and girls who look like me watching tonight, this is a beacon of hope and possibilities. This is proof that dreams dream big and dreams do come true. And ladies, don't let anybody tell you you are ever past your prime. Never give up.
But it was also a strong evening for many Canadians. Let's begin with Sarah Polley, the director of Women Talking, who won for Best Adapted Screenplay and had some pointed words for the Academy that chose not to nominate any women directors this year.
First of all, I just want to thank the Academy for not being mortally offended by the words women and talking put so close together like that.
And the Renaissance continues. Brendan Fraser, Canada's own, took home the Best Actor Award for his performance in The Whale.
I'm grateful to Darren Aronofsky for throwing me a creative lifeline and hauling me aboard the good ship The Whale.
Other Canadians who enjoyed a golden moment include Adrian Moreau, the makeup artist responsible for transforming Fraser, and Daniel Rohr, the documentary director who directed Navalny and dedicated his Oscar win to Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader who remains in prison. Eli Glassner, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Last night's ceremony also saw a big win for the South Asian community. The song Natunatu from the hit film RRR won Best Original Song, making it the first ever song from an Indian film to win an Academy Award. But as Yasmin Ghania reports, despite the Oscar win, there are still ongoing concerns about representation in entertainment.
A historical night for the Indian community, with an explosive performance of RRR's Natunatu. Dancers snapped their suspenders as they executed the movie's high-concept choreography. The blockbuster film is about two Indian revolutionaries during India's struggle for independence from Britain.
RRR!
The song won the Oscar for Best Original Song, a first for India. But despite the celebration, there is also condemnation, with some from British Columbia's South Asian community criticizing the live performance for its lack of representation. The choreographers were not South Asian, neither were the lead dancers.
LA has so many, Indian dancers, right? And it will be a more happy moment for us if, at least they can add like a couple of dancers, who can also represent India.
Many fans took to social media to condemn the decision. Yet others have a more positive attitude about the situation.
Just to pinpoint, that they could have had some South Asian dancers or this, well, maybe later on, but this is the first attempt.
Sharma says it's a lesson for award shows to aim for better racial representation in the future. The Academy did not respond to CBC's request for comment. Featuring several hallmarks of the music that is popular in Indian cinema, Natunatu has been embraced by young people around the world, becoming a popular sound for TikToks and Instagram Reels, with children even performing the dance.
I look at it in a very positive way, and it will certainly set a new path for a lot of others.
Evidence of Hollywood taking a step in new direction. Yasmin Ghania, CBC News, Vancouver.
While the stars were front and center last night, some speculated that another guest was secretly in attendance, the newly famous diet drug Ozempic. The drug was referenced by many commentators online, as well as the show's host.
You look great. Everybody looks so great. When I look around this room, I can't help but wonder, is Ozempic right for me?
Designed to help treat type 2 diabetes, the drug has seen a massive surge in popularity in the United States as users report an off-label side effect, weight loss.
The weight loss industry in Canada is worth over $350 million per year, and about 1 in 5 Canadians is considered obese. So there's a huge market for weight loss interventions that work. And in case you're wondering how this medication works, it falls into the class of glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonists. And this does is it mimics the effect of a hormone in your body that reduces sugar absorption by slowing down digestion in your stomach, which lowers food cravings. And in scientific trials, when it was combined with a healthy diet and exercise intervention, on average, people lost almost 35 pounds versus about 6 pounds off it. So it's very effective. Unfortunately, most medications come with side effects, and this one is no different. So the most common side effects are gastrointestinal ones, so nausea, abdominal pain, and diarrhea or constipation, which thankfully tend to improve after a few weeks. But also people are reporting something called Ozempic face, or this gaunt look with sagging skin and more visible wrinkles that people can get who use it. Now, I want to point out that this isn't specific to Ozempic or other medications in this class. These changes are due to the rapid weight loss people experience on this medication, which can also cause facial fat loss. Some of the more serious but rare possible side effects are increased risk of thyroid tumors, which was seen in the animals that this medication was tested on, and also the risk of acute pancreatitis. So if you have a family or personal history of either of these conditions, it's not recommended that you take it. But overall, I think the biggest problem, like with any temporary crash diet or lifestyle change, is the rebound effect. So once you stop it, the weight typically comes right back on. So unfortunately, it's not a permanent silver bullet.
The U.S. has approved the largest oil drilling project in Alaska in decades. The project has strong support in the state, but has drawn the ire of climate groups. That story is next. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream. The Canadian Armed Forces recently changed its rules to let permanent residents become members. It's a big deal for people who previously were not allowed. As Laura Meter tells us, a Charlottetown man originally from Bangladesh was sworn in under the new rules last week.
He's here since success.
It's a moment Safian Chowdhury didn't think would be possible since he's not a Canadian citizen. He's one of the first permanent residents, or PRs, to enroll in the Canadian Armed Forces.
I got enrolled in Canadian Navy, and that was fantastic. I never thought about that. I will be the first in whole Atlantic as a PR.
A permanent resident is someone who has resident status but is not yet a citizen. Chowdhury is the first in the Atlantic region to be sworn in. He will be a part-time member of the reserves. The rule change is expected to improve diversity and help recruit more members.
It's really about taking down some barriers and walls and preventing, getting away from preventing folks from getting in. They're part of the community, and if they want to serve, there shouldn't be any barrier from preventing them from serve. So.
There's a shortage of members in the Canadian Armed Forces. The plan is to recruit more than 1 million permanent residents in the next couple of years.
Opening it up now, they're just kind of making that acknowledgement that so many permanent residents have skill sets. That would be a bonus to the military.
There's a lot of talent out there as a permanent resident who wants to join military because of it was not there in the past.
Chowdhury moved from Bangladesh to Toronto to study electronics engineering. He and his wife have been in PEI for 5 years.
He dreamed about that, and he applied and he got this and he achieved this beautiful thing, so I'm so happy for him.
I always had that passion to enroll in military, and also I want to give back to my country.
He begins basic training soon. Other permanent residents have applied to HMCS Queen Charlotte too and are expected to be sworn in the coming months. Laura Meter, CBC News, Charlottetown.
There's mixed reaction tonight to a decision to greenlight an oil drilling project in Alaska. The Biden administration gave it the go-ahead despite previous promises to stop this type of development. Renee Filipponi has more on the delicate balancing act at play.
A remote area in northern Alaska could soon be home to the largest oil development in the region in decades. U.S. President Joe Biden has approved the $8 billion Willow project, owned by oil giant ConocoPhillips. The drilling would take place in Alaska's far north in the National Petroleum Reserve and could produce up to 180,000 barrels of oil a day. Once pumped, the oil would travel via pipeline to Valdez, Alaska, then put on tankers, the bulk of it headed for refineries on the U.S. West Coast.
President Biden just tainted his climate legacy forever.
Across social media, environmentalists raise concerns about carbon pollution and the impact on wildlife.
I am sad when you want to drill oil on my land.
It's those concerns that led Indigenous groups from Alaska to Washington in protest earlier this year.
It is striking that when he ran for the presidency, Joe Biden said that he would ban approval of new oil and gas production on U.S. public lands. This is a reversal of that.
But there has been bipartisan political support in Alaska, which includes the backing from some Indigenous leaders.
The economic benefits that it provides to people, I think, are number one, because that ties into maintaining first world conditions within the communities, but also allowing us the opportunity for jobs.
In a statement, ConocoPhillips said this was the right decision for Alaska and our nation, adding it will create 2,500 construction jobs. Environmentalists in Canada are drawing a comparison to the approval of the Bay du Nord offshore oil project in Newfoundland and Labrador.
We have got to stop having progressive leaders claim that one last fossil fuel mega project is okay as long as they're taking climate action elsewhere in their lives.
Climate groups have vowed to challenge this in court, a process that could delay this project for years. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
You're looking at a live shot of downtown Vancouver. Your full forecast is coming up next.
It's the beginning of the final journey home. A sacred native totem pole taken from its people nearly 80 years ago is finally on its way back. Here's Natalie Clancy.
In 1929, native totem poles were all the rage in European museums, so the Swedish Royal Consul in BC cut one down and shipped it to Stockholm. But the Heisler Nation say the 9-meter Gubbsglox pole was stolen from their land. It's been kept in a Swedish museum. Louisa Smith wept the first time she saw the pole on display in 1991. She is a direct descendant of the Gubbsglox chief who erected the pole in 1872 to mark the death of his children after a smallpox epidemic. She came to Stockholm today to reclaim her family's sacred pole.
We are glad that the old pole is free. Its spirit is free today.
When we put our hands on it, you can almost feel the positive energy returning. And now that it's in the box, returning home, it no longer has a yoke on it. It's almost like we can breathe again.
Dried, cracking, and packed in foam, it will be shipped back to BC. But the bitter irony for the Heisler is that by taking their sacred pole, the Swedes actually preserved it. In the rainforest where it originally stood, totem poles never last as long as this. Traditionally, when a pole falls, it is never resurrected. It must be left to rot and return to Mother Earth.
With the museum taking care of it as it has, we have changed somewhat, very reluctantly, that we will now put it in a museum rather than to bring it home and put it back where it originated from.
It is a source of pain for the Heisler, who had to agree to preserve the pole in order to get it back. So it will lie flat in a shopping center in Kitimat until they can raise enough money to build a museum. In return, the grandson of the original carver made a replica of the Gubbsglox pole and flew it to Sweden.
With the return of the old totem pole and the raising of our new pole, this time-honored story has come full circle.
The replica will stand outside the museum in Stockholm as a reminder of the sacred symbol lost for so many years to the Heisler people of British Columbia. Natalie Clancy, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On March 30th, join Angela Starrett at the Alumni UBC webinar on Indigenous youth, nurturing the next generation. Hear from 3 Indigenous speakers who mentor Indigenous youth to share knowledge in their communities and beyond. Register at alumni.ubc.ca and never miss an episode of your favorite CBC drama or comedy with the free CBC Gem app. Check it out at gem.cbc.ca.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Riley Laychuk is here with us tonight for the BC forecast. We've been spoiled with more sun on the south coast, but snow coming up for some parts of the province.
Thanks, Michelle. Snow continuing through eastern parts of British Columbia. The mountain passes, the Rogers, the Crow's Nest, the Trans-Canada Highway looking to pick up. By the time it's all said and done, 25 centimeters of snow as we get toward the morning tomorrow. So this is what it looks like on Futurecast. The back end of the system pushing out through the overnight, starting Tuesday morning under cloud cover through the south coast, Metro Vancouver. Already starting to see some showers through Vancouver, even back toward Victoria. This will be flurries through the higher elevations as we get through the day on Tuesday. Otherwise, we're expecting just a mainly cloudy day tomorrow, wet conditions along the south coast. Wednesday, starting with cloud cover, maybe some flurries in the higher elevations again, but a lot sunnier out to the east through Wednesday. Our skies do clear. We'll see sunshine through Wednesday, Thursday, but northern BC looking at another system here, which could bring us more snow as we head into Thursday and Friday to round out the week. In terms of snowfall projections, this is what we're expecting in terms of, this will take us out 48 hours. Most of this falling tonight, though. Revelstoke, another 13 by the time this is all said and done. Could see up to 10, maybe a bit more through the Fernie region into Grand Forks as well. So for the south coast, this is mainly a rain event. We're expecting, 5-6 millimeters, a good bet along the south coast, Metro Vancouver, Victoria, parts of Vancouver Island. We'll see 5-6 millimeters of rain. A bit more rain. We'll see some of that rain-snow mix through Cranbrook as we head through Tuesday and into Wednesday. In terms of our forecast tonight, we're expecting temperatures around 3 degrees for Vancouver and Victoria, a bit cooler out to the east. Northern BC, some snow still falling tonight through Fort Nelson and Dease Lake. Otherwise, temperatures quite cool tonight, -19 in Fort St. John. Getting up to -7 tomorrow, +3 in Prince George. The south coast, rain tomorrow for Vancouver, 8 degrees, 9 in Victoria. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast now. We're expecting bright sunshine through Wednesday and Thursday. And then, things do stay consistent, but we will see some more rain to round out the weekend.
Thanks, Riley. Well, tonight marked one of the biggest nights of the year in Canadian entertainment. The 2023 Junos took place in Edmonton, celebrating the best and brightest in Canadian music. Among the big winners of the night, The Weeknd won Album of the Year for Dawn FM, Preston Pablo took home Breakthrough Artist of the Year, and Nickelback was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. And in one unscripted moment from the ceremony, a topless protester stormed the stage where Avril Lavigne was presenting an award.
Get the off. Get the off.
Lavigne promptly kicked her off the stage using some colorful language, and the show went on. There were also performances from several big Canadian stars. And that is your late news for this Monday. Thank you so much for spending your night right here with us. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Good night.